What's happening, Brighton? The short answer is a lot. The long answer is this podcast. What's Up Brighton is a show dedicated to the community we all love.
Hosted by Roger Burnett, Eric Meldrum, and Coach Mark Howell, this podcast will feature news, issues, and discussions impacting Livingston County and celebrate the people who make our slice of Michigan go and grow. This is What's Up Brighton.
You can probably relate with this too, because like every entrepreneur or somebody that is looking to do unthinkable things in their life, right? You know, you're always going to need other people to make that happen. You can be the spark. You can be the person that visionary to drive that forward. But the reality is you can't do everything on your own.
100%.
So you're going to need people along the way. And the most difficult thing for me in my journey has always been relinquishing a lot of the responsibilities that I've had. And this year was a huge breakthrough year for that. Like we hired a sales manager, take over all of the agent accountability, driving, all the accountability into the agents and doing the training.
I bet that's still a process that you're working through.
Yeah, it's only week number 5.
Oh, yeah. So there you go.
With her. Yeah. So like we're learning, all right. Some of the things are coming back to me, but I said, and I got this from, I think it was one of Ben Hardy's books. I think it was The Who, Not How, is once I give you these responsibilities, you outline everything that it is that you're taking off my plate. And now I'm transferring ownership of this, right?
Yeah.
I'm transferring ownership of this to you. Okay. I should never get this back. If I get this back, I hired the wrong who.
Okay.
Right. So now I got to look at myself and say, okay, I hired the wrong who because they were incapable of following this through.
Yep.
All right. But if I hired the right who, that theoretically should never come back to me.
100%. Yeah.
Right. And, we're going through this, right now, and everybody always struggles with that and thinking they're always going to have a replica of themselves. Like, I can do it better. And that was my dilemma, is like, I can just do it better and faster. I'll just take care of it.
Yep.
Right. But then that bogged down my capacity. I was living in that 80% of the stuff I was doing was not changing. Right. Until I give that 80% up and focus on the 20% of my greatness, I'm not going to be able to go to the next level. So it's funny to live that and like watch it in your own business.
Yeah. And
when you start seeing it come to life, it's like, holy crap, like that is so true. I made way more money when I started my partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now I was a 50-50 partner in my real estate business.
Isn't that funny?
Right. And it's like, well, I'm giving up 50% of my income, but they were too.
But if you're doing way more together.
But now we 4X'd. Right.
Yeah.
We didn't 10X. We 4X'd. Right. When we joined forces. But I think my point on that, which is why I kind of went down that path, was most entrepreneurs, including myself, really thought they needed to do everything on their own. And that if they're looking at 120%, capacity in their life, they expect that of the people that they bring in.
Yeah.
Right. They expect that of the taskmasters and all the people that we were just talking about. Like, you're not going to get 120% from somebody that just wants to collect a paycheck,
right,
and go home.
And it's and ultimately too, it's hard to, you can't like manifest that same passion and energy behind something that's so important to you into somebody else, right? You might get lucky, but like most of the time, you're always going to be the person who cares the most about it.
Oh, 100%.
And so you have to realize that and give them some grace on like, hey, like this is still a balancing act for them, but if they can help grow that company, and now because of that capacity, like maybe now I have the ability to hire even more people, and like, it just keeps expanding exponentially. Yep. Like, let's freaking go. Yeah.
And, one thing I heard through the hiring process is if you can find somebody that can do the job 80% as good as you did.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Just 80%. Doesn't need to be 100.
Yep.
Right, just 80%. All right, if you think about that, you hire one person to do the job just as good as you are 80% of the time. Well, you're going to be better off.
Yep.
Having that person do 80% of the work, and maybe you need to fine tune the 20% to get it to where it needs to be, but you're not doing all the work.
Yeah.
Right. You freed your time up.
Yeah. Well, because, like now 100% of what they're doing just freed up, how much percentage of the work you were doing. So it's like, even if it's 80% done the correct way that you would have it done, you can live with that other 20%. Like that's, and most of it's probably coachable, or teachable.
Yeah, for sure. Or you make another hire.
Yeah.
Right.
And the, just the sanity that you gain and the time and the resources and, and over time, like, we've gone through that. Shavela's been with us now for, I think this is going on year 3. And it took me like a year and a half to really wrap my head around really delegating and allowing her, and not out of fear of her not doing her job, mostly out of fear of like, but it's not going to be done the way that I'm exactly going to do it.
Oh, totally.
And it was just, it was a process. And now it's honestly like our meetings consist of, all of a sudden, like a lot of times we have weekly meetings like 10:30 on Thursdays, and they turn into like an hour brain session of where we start on like a topic, and then I get this crazy weird idea because that's just how my brain works. And then that idea leads to like 5 other ideas. And I just start going with all these different crazy things. And Shavela's like note taking like crazy. And then we kind of regroup. And then she walks through like, all right, these are all the tasks that actually have to happen now to make like 5% of this even real.
The reality sinks in.
Yeah. But I mean, she'll do like 95% of them. She's like, I need you to do this, this, and this. Cause like, she's not, like that's just not in her wheelhouse. She's like, so now you run with those and make these happen. And I'm going to start, ticking off this checklist and getting all these things in motion so that we can make now this vision and this conversation like a reality. And it's like, just that one little thing on a weekly basis is like starting to change our entire model and our success, and like how fulfilled I feel too. Cause I'm like, I'm loading up my schedule now with getting back out and like meeting with some higher end people, like doing the things that like I need to be doing to 10x the business. And things that like I just wasn't doing at all for the past couple of years, but they were things that I was pouring myself into when we first started. And that's how we went from $12,000 a year to $500,000. And it's like, well, now how do we do that to 5 million? It's like, well, I gotta be finding the right people. Like, and it has to be me. It can't be anybody else.
It's so funny to use the example on find, like when you have a goal of $5 million, you go and find, either 10 people at 500,000, or you go find, one person at 5 million.
Right.
Like what sounds easier, in that? Do I find 100 people at 5,000? Do I, whatever, or do I go one person, 5 million?
Right? I feel like the one person 5 million sounds way easier.
Sounds way easier.
Yeah.
But there probably was a point in your life where you're like, oh no, like that would never happen. We'll never have a
1 million%.
We'll never have a $5 million donor.
100%.
Right. And there's
and we're not even close to that now, but it as I talk about it, I'm like, that doesn't scare me. Where even maybe a year or two ago, like that would have been like the fear of God would put it like, there's no way. I'm not even comfortable asking for that. And now it's like, why not?
Why not?
And somebody else recently brought this up to me too. Like, what also is like earth shattering when you think about it, that person who is writing you let's say a $10,000 check today versus a person who's going to write you a $5 million check. The people who are writing maybe that $10,000 check and that's super painful for them, but they're invested in the mission, they're going to care also and want like way more accountability. I don't know if that's the right word, but behind that 10,000, they want to know exactly what's going into that, and they're going to make you work for that 10,000 versus that person who's probably committing 5 million.
More needy of a
yeah,
customer.
More. There you go, perfect, right? Whereas that person who's going to maybe write a $5 million check, they're like, hey, like I have this, I want you to go make a huge impact, like go do it, like, and obviously stay in touch. It's not like, oh, here you go,
It means less to them about right. They're not emotionally attached to it because they know they've gotten to a point where they understand like this $5 million check is going to impact lives. I don't need to figure out what each of the mechanics are that are going behind deploying my $5,000. Right. And I'll equate this to my world in real estate, and it's the same true, and it's true for every single business.
Yes.
Right. It's true for every single business. Doesn't matter what line of work you're in. Some of the most challenging transactions that I've ever had are the lowest dollar amount. Right. Like I have a transaction right now that's my lowest transaction ever. Right. It's $83,000. Right. It's a mobile home in Southline. Right. It's been one of the most challenging things. The client is super nice. Right. But they just have a lot of questions. Right. This is probably one of the biggest purchases.
And it's everything to
they've ever made in their lives. And it's everything. right? That's the key. It's everything to them.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe insignificant for me, but the process is not any different.
100%.
Right. I'm not doing any less or more work as a result of it. It's just the type of person that is on the other end of it and what that means to them.
Yeah.
And I've had a coach that is really pushed us to increase, our billable for our coaching business.
Okay.
And, we've struggled with that. We've looked at that and said, well, have a membership that's like, $150 a month. And they said, no, you need to have a membership that is $1,500 a month.
Wow.
And we're like, same thing. We're like,
yeah,
I don't know who would pay for that. I wouldn't pay for that. Would people actually pay for that? Like,
right.
Do you think they would do that? And then, you go to an event like Funnel Hacking Live, and the guy standing on stage consistently, I'll talk about Russell here in a second. But each of those speakers standing on stage, they gave the example, like, I used to think doing $1 million in a year was a big deal.
Right.
And then I said, well, what if I could do $1 million in a month? What if I could do $1 million in a week?
Oh.
Or what if I could do $1 million in a day?
Yeah.
How life-changing would that be for you? And all of them have done it.
Yep.
All of them done it. Russell Brunson holds the world record. Guy has a ton of world records. Like he's like the Mr. Beast of marketing.
Yeah.
But he's got a world record. He stood on Grant Cardone's stage at the MGM in Vegas at the 10X event.
Okay.
And he sold from stage. He set the record for selling $3.3 million in coaching in 90 minutes.
Oh my God.
He gave a 90-minute presentation.
Yep.
And had a table rush at the end of his presentation. And if you know Grant Cardone, Grant Cardone is like the sales guy.
Yep.
Right. He's the real estate, the sales guy, the coaching, like, all things. And he was like, bro, it's like he goes, you're going to sell from stage. He's like, how much do you think you're going to, Russell's like, I don't know. Millions? I don't know.
That's insane.
And
That's insane.
And Grant was like, no, dude, you're not going to sell $1 million.
Yeah, there's no way.
He's like, I can't even sell $1 million from stage. And Russell's like,
watch me.
Hold my beer. Watch me. Russell doesn't drink, but like
Big Daddy Dog. Watch me unzip. Plop.
So he went out, and it's the framework again. It's like, it's the perfect webinar. He told his hero's journey.
Yep.
Right. He's got his origin story. He went through the hero's journey. He went through the epiphany bridge, broke down all the false beliefs, internal and external, and then made the offer. Right. The offer is tied. It's from pain. All the internal and external beliefs are the pain, right? The pain that we believe we're going through, which is, I can't have this, or I'm not like you, or, there's no way somebody would pay for that, or I can't achieve that, because whatever you're telling yourself, and then it gives you the offer, which is the solution, right? If I could help you, break through maybe your mindset, if I could show you a path and give you a roadmap or a tool to help you do that, would that be valuable? And then it stacks the offer, right? And his table rush,
that's amazing.
It was $3.3 million in 90 minutes, which is like, can you imagine?
No,
right?
No, I mean, I really can't.
People are talking about selling $1 million in a day. The guy did it in 90 minutes.
That's
times three.
Yeah. When you think about it, I think like when you think of all of that, right, all into one, so many people get hung up with, yeah, but I don't know if I can bring that much value to somebody else, right? And that's one of the things. So I've started a little nonprofit consulting stuff that I'm kind of learning on the side, and I want to turn that into something significant down the road for other founders from lessons that I've learned along my own path and everything. And one thing that I continually am trying to remind myself of is, and everybody is in business, is like, you are the subject matter expert in your journey. Like, you are the only one. So it's like everything that you've gone through and everything that you've experienced and your successes and your failures and your lessons, like, that's expert advice on the journey that you've gone on, and everyone can learn from that, regardless of how successful or how much of a failure, quote unquote, they might deem themselves to be. So it's like, stop undercutting what you've gone through. It's just because it's different than what I've gone through and vice versa doesn't mean it's any better or less or anything. It's of equal value, and we all have our own journey.
That's gold right there. Like, if you guys weren't paying attention, what Mark just said, like that is gold. Like, this is the part where you get the pen out and start writing the stuff down. Because 100%, like, your uniqueness and your journey is what ultimately is going to sell whatever it is that you're selling.
Yeah.
Right. And your product solution is not going to look the same as whoever else is out there. Guess how many people are out there selling courses on how to become an online marketer or like to sell digital projects, or
just millions, right?
Or being a coach.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're in that world and or put it into perspective, like in real estate, also we're getting sold everything under the sun. Like real estate agents are such a target for marketing programs. Like, hey, well, you sign on with us, we'll get you leads. You sign on with us, we'll get you seller leads, we'll get you buyer leads. And you want to learn how to do social media? Oh, we got a course for that. It's like, holy crap. Like we're getting inundated with so much stuff. And if you're a small business owner and you own a clothing store or whatever, there's probably people that are trying to sell to you too.
Yep.
Right. Like, here, I have this solution. I have this technology. I have this other program. Yeah. It's the same thing. But what makes somebody actually buy one of those things is the person and the story behind who's selling it.
Yeah.
Right. Just like if you were to go and be the 1,001, person that was like, hey, I got a fundraising coaching program in a box for you. I'm going to teach you how to do from A to Z, how to launch your own nonprofit, how to get it set up with the state, all the regulations. And by the way, we're going to take you through and give you all the tools you need, to become the coach, become the fundraiser, and become, all the things you need. Okay. There's 1,000 more of those out there.
Yep.
All right. But the people that are going to buy from you are the people that are going to relate to your story because you're now speaking to somebody that went through the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Are you or a loved one struggling with the effects of a stroke? The Oxford Center in Brighton, Michigan offers a cutting-edge alternative stroke treatment that can help stroke victims even years after having a stroke. Our approach combines traditional medicine with evidence-based alternative therapies, including hyperbaric oxygen therapy. This advanced treatment involves breathing pure oxygen in a specialized environment that can stimulate the growth of new blood vessels and promote healing in the brain. We also offer physical therapy and speech therapy programs to help patients regain their strength, coordination, and ability to communicate. Contact the Oxford Center today at 248-486-3636 or visit the website at oxfordcenter.com to learn more about the alternative stroke treatment options, including hyperbaric oxygen therapy. That's 248-486-3636 or visit oxfordcenter.com.
And like we kind of outlined in the beginning of today's podcast, is just like, this is applicable in any area of life, in any profession. You don't have to be, we're all selling something, right? We're all selling ourselves at the very least in some capacity.
Even when you talk to your kids.
Yeah.
Everything's a sales pitch or a negotiation.
100%.
Hey, it's bedtime.
Yeah. I'm trying to convince you
how about no, Dad?
that what I say has value, right? And you're going to take it for what it's worth. It's like, no matter what it is. And so, yeah, it's just, even like, as you were talking about all of that and being like the 1,000th one, I was just even thinking of how many webinars or classes that I have paid money for, whether it be $60 or $500 or whatever, right? Even if it's like a virtual class or a program of any kind, how many have I sat through? And 99% of it, I think to myself, there's nothing special about this. I could have done this, but yet I still take away a nugget of something. Right. And it could be the most boring speaker who has like pretty much lulled me to sleep the whole time. And yet I'll still walk away with like, you know what? That was really crappy, but I was trying to be open and I came up with one good idea that I'm going to apply. And it's like, and yet here we are always second guessing ourselves like, yeah, but I don't know enough to do blah, 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 blah. Like, yes, you just get out of your own way. Get out of your head.
Gotta get on your way.
Oh.
And so
do the thing that scares you. Go freaking do it.
Go do it. And the coaching programs, I've invested in coaching, for the past probably 5 years, just in different capacities, mainly in business coaching and real estate related. But this was the first year that I really sought out coaching outside of that.
Okay.
And it's been, I think this is the one thing that's been most transforming of my journey, which is I'm not staying in that lane of like what I know anymore. I'm getting outside of it and really looking for the coaching that is going to break through to help the business go to the next level. It's mindset, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same
so specifically, what type of coach have you sought out then, without maybe I don't know, getting too granular
So,
with who they are, but like,
yeah, I'll give you an example of a coaching program we just got into.
okay.
You know, and so I've been in Russell's world for a number of years.
And he's ClickFunnels. He's not like a real estate guy.
He's
necessarily.
not a real estate guy. He's an online marketer.
Okay.
The guy literally started selling potato gun launchers online.
Well, first of all, brilliant, because that sounds awesome, and I want one. So give me that website. Yeah. But secondly, okay, what else?
It's so funny because like if you look at some of his products that he's sold over the years, I mean, he's into anything from health and wellness, nutrition, potato gun launchers, information, coaching programs.
This guy sounds like my hero.
Oh, he's phenomenal. I mean,
potato gun. I mean, you sold me there.
Listen, when Tony Robbins launched his book and his seminars and kind of like brought this into the 21st century, right? Because Tony Robbins used to be on audiobook, like you could buy CDs and everything. Like going into the digital age, Tony Robbins was like, okay, even I need a coach. I don't know this landscape.
Yeah.
I know what worked to sell audiobooks and get people to come to seminars, but I don't know how to reach all these other people using all these different tools now on like Facebook and Instagram.
Sure.
Russell was the guy.
Oh, wow.
Right. Tony brought in. Right.
So we all need to hire Russell. That's what we're getting at. Let's all pool our money.
go into it. So Russell's had, mastermind coaching. He has a program where it's the Alchemy program. It's $250,000 a year.
Okay.
All right. And then he has lower coaching programs, beyond that. So if you want to get into his mastermind, it's $50,000 a year, right? You go to Cabo,
That's amazing.
You meet 4 times a year.
He doesn't fuck around. He just says, "Hey, let's go."
Oh, it's a high ticket.
Yep.
Right. But you're getting in the room with the people that you need to be around.
Yeah.
Right. So this year for me, I went to ClickFunnels in 2023, 2024, and we were investing in coaching in real estate, and at the time, I was like, well, we really don't want to get into that. And this year, with everything going on, we're like, we need to take our coaching business to the next level, right? We need to really focus on the things that are going to help us propel. And I think getting in the room with these folks so we can really start crafting, our message, honing our skills and being around these type of people is what we need to do.
Yeah.
So we jumped into the high level coaching program, with Russell this year.
That's
My partner
awesome.
had already been in it, for a couple of years, but it was always that kind of like, hey, I'm in this world, right? And he's trying to bring all the information back to me and distill it down so I could help integrate that into our business. And this year it was, no, that doesn't work anymore. Like I need to take the step forward.
Yeah.
Right? I need to get into those same rooms, into those 4 walls.
Yep.
With those people. So we jumped in. I mean, it was a big investment.
You've been very intentional with that investment though. Like, hey, like if we need to do this, it's scary. Yeah, it's a big leap. It's a big leap of faith. But also like if we're gonna put our money where our mouth is, like, and be the people that like we're dreaming of being, like we got to make an equal investment in that.
100%.
Like, we can't screw around down here treading water with the little guys. If we're dreaming of being big, we've got to be in that same room. We've got to be learning from them. We've got to be rubbing shoulders with them. We need to be picking up on all of their intricate little hobbies and things that they're doing. And man, that's just I'm on board. Yes,
it was 100% yes. And he, my partner comes to me on day 3 when Russell does his pitch of like to the audience of getting into the coaching program, and like I already woke up that morning anticipating like,
you're like, we're doing it.
How do I approach him? And so like, we need to do this.
You're trying to get it like, all right, he needs to be on board, but this is a huge investment.
Here's the reality: like we had all the access to all the information.
Okay,
right? Like I could go log in and get the information, the courses, and pull all that information out. But that wasn't the most valuable part of that coaching program. The most valuable part of the coaching program is the invite to the private events. It's being in the room with the other people. So as soon as we got into that program, well, let me tell the story of like how.
And that goes back a little bit to the energy thing that you were talking about earlier. That you're like, I didn't used to believe in that, but just by being in the room with those same people and being a part of it, it's like, and here it comes full
energy
circle.
waves are real.
Yeah.
So it was day 3 and I woke up that morning with that like pit in my stomach. I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. It's like a sizable amount of money. I'm like,
hell yeah.
I'm like rubbing the credit card. I'm like, better warm up. Like, all right, buddy. Like,
let's do this.
This is your time to shine. And so, we're sitting through and it's almost lunchtime, and lunch is like, if you got into the program, you go have a private lunch.
Okay.
Right? And then that evening is going to be a roundtable event.
Okay.
Right. Which you have over 50 people, all the speakers that were on stage and some other people that were coming in that are ultra successful.
Yep.
They're going to be at a roundtable.
All ballers.
You can go sit with them and literally have a direct conversation with them and ask any questions you want.
Invaluable.
So it was about 11 o'clock and lunch is in about an hour. And Russell's going on stage. He's just kind of
I'm dying with anticipation right now.
He's like doing his pitch, and I'm like, I'm gonna go back to the table and fill out the form. And my partner taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, "Hey, come here." So we like go to the side of the conference room in Vegas, and he's like, "So, we've been looking at the next phase of our growth, right? And like what we need to do. Do you feel like you have all the information you need to get to where you need to be?" And I'm like, "No, I obviously we talked about this last night. Like we were having drinks and talking about like strategy, and we're like, I know what we need to do, but I don't have the mindset right there.
Yeah.
Like it was still foggy."
Yep.
And he goes, "Okay, do you believe that this is the room you need to be in to correct that?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Hell yeah. Yep.
And he literally grabbed my shoulder and he's like, "All right, let's go fill this out."
Oh, I love it.
Right. And it was just like that transformative moment of like, we both were on the same page of like, it doesn't matter. Like all the information's there. It's, you got to step into that room. You got to invest in yourself, to make that happen. So long story short, we signed up and we go to the lunch, we go to the round table, that night as well. And I'm literally sitting in the round table and this guy, if anybody's in real estate, you might know who this is, Ryan Pineda, right? And he is, dude, he went from 0 to like 500 million in revenue in like 3 years.
Okay.
Right. He does fix and flips. He does coaching. He has
a wizard.
Wealthy Way. He's also a follower in Christ, just like us. And he's just somebody that I've always respected. But now I'm in a room with Ryan Pineda sitting at a table, and I'm literally sitting right next to him. Yeah. Like I just bought my way into the best access to entrepreneurs that have done the thing that I want to do.
Yep.
There's no other way I could have gotten that room.
100%.
Unless I paid.
Yeah. But what an investment in yourself. It's huge, like huge investment. And what I don't know, there's something about that too that just like raises your own confidence in yourself too. Like, hey, like I deserve to be here. I'm in here. Like now I'm gonna, like, I bet you've never been more amped like to be a part of something than too. Like, hey, like now I've literally put my money where my mouth is. Like I need to go do the thing. Like, let's rock and roll.
It's a whole identity. I mean, when you get into that, like Roger, for example, like he's in the boardroom mastermind. Like that was not a cheap entry fee either. Yeah. Like, he's like, like I got access. I'm a boardroom member. Yep. Right. Like that means something in that world. And last story on this, because this is kind of full circles. Like day 4, my energy was just like up here. Yeah. I'm like just reeling off of this. I'm exhausted, but I have so much adrenaline going that I was just like, and Tony's about to come on. I'm pumped
up for life.
Couple hours. Yeah. And there was a guy who's into social media. He teaches courses on how to be a better creator, right? How to show up better on video and really take your social media to the next level. His name's Eric Thane. Brilliant. If you want to go look him up, Eric.
Another thing applicable in any scenario,
any business.
Period. Yep.
Yeah. So ericthane.com. And he spoke at Funnel Hacking Live in 2023. Okay. Yeah. He went from 0 followers to over 1 million followers, like a very short amount of time. Like he cracked the code. And
he's a dude, so he wasn't showing his ass and like shaking it for the audience because
he was walking the walk, talking the talk. He had just authored a new book called Create. Okay, right. Don't capture, create, and we all got a copy of his first edition of it. So I literally took that book from 2023 event, brought it back. I read it, digested it all. And every event I go on, I'm always looking for a book to bring. Like, what's my one book that I'm going to bring? Yeah. I hardly ever read them, to be honest with you. Yep. But if I do need like 15, 20 minutes, maybe I'm going to pick it up on the plane. If I'm feeling like I just need to like zone in, I'll pick up the book and read it. Well, this year I picked that book. Yeah. Which Create. And I took it there. And I didn't think I was like ever going to run into Eric Thane. That thought never crossed my mind. Right. But I literally saw him 5 times.
Oh my God.
Okay. Saw Ty Lopez there as well. It was awesome. But
Is that Mario Lopez's brother?
No,
I mean,
he's
okay.
Ty Lopez.
That would've been really
Ty
fun.
Lopez is the private equity guy who actually, like, I think he went bankrupt and is like restarting. But anyways,
Yep. Hey,
so
that's a strategy too, I think.
But I saw Eric like 5 times, and in my brain, I'm like, okay, this has got to mean something. Like I got to do something.
You got to
like,
say something.
Yeah, I got to say something to him. And I'm like, oh shit, like his book is in my backpack, and I ran to my backpack.
Sign my book, bro.
I ran to my backpack to make sure I didn't like take it out and put it in the hotel room.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to lighten the load a little bit. So I was like, all right, please let it be in there. Please let it be in there. So I opened my backpack, and yes, there's the book.
Beautiful.
All right. So I got the book, and I'm like, all right, well, I got the book in my hand. Like, now I have to go talk to him.
Yeah.
Right?
No
So
excuse.
I got to go talk to him. So I go over to him, and I said, hey, sorry to interrupt you. You're Eric, right? And he goes, yeah. And I said, man, I got to tell you, like, this whole story. And he stops me really abruptly. He's like, hey, I'd love to talk to you. Can you hold that thought? And he finishes his conversation with this other girl. So I'm like, kind of like went here and then like, all right, the wind kind of got
right.
I was like,
a little bit out of
but
sales.
whatever. Like, I'm just going to stand there. I'll twiddle my thumbs for a little bit. And so he comes over, I tell him the whole story, that I just told you about. Like, hey, I brought your book here. I don't hardly ever read the books, but this was fate. Like, I was running into you. So I told him about our coaching program for real estate agents. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you ever do any sort of trainings or like cross collaborations with anybody? He goes, yeah, all the time. I said, would you come on ours?
Yeah.
Would you pour into our community, and teach them what you know? It's like, absolutely. It's
Holy
like,
shit.
Email my assistant, and he's coming on March 5th.
Oh my God.
He's coming
Look
in.
at
So
that.
like, literally you're only one connection away and just one conversation.
And all you had to do was ask, right?
Just ask.
Yeah.
Right.
That's amazing.
It's crazy, man.
Yep.
Like, so
the power of just getting out of your own way, just, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And I know we've been talking, if you've been sticking around with us this whole entire time, this stuff, obviously you can tell Mark and I love, like, this is everybody's journey's a little different. And, if you're picking up some nuggets here, your entrepreneurial journey is obviously your own. But there's so many people that are willing to help. And that's what, I love that about this community, because you don't have to go very far to find somebody that is willing to share, to help.
Absolutely.
Like, everybody that I've ran into, in B&I groups, in groups that we've started, or, fundraising events that you've hosted.
Just other small business owners, even. They all just want to work with each other, however they can.
Yeah. Like we had Gavin, here, and
new chamber president.
Yeah, Gavin Johnson, and talked about, exactly what business owners are looking for from one another, how they're facilitating some of that, and the amount of cross collaboration that he's seen. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll land the plane here for today. This was part 2.
Yeah.
Of part 1. If you're just catching this episode, go back and watch the first half of this podcast, part 2. And got any final words for the audience? Man,
I honestly just dream bigger. Dream bigger. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And we kind of mentioned it earlier, but you are your own subject matter expert, and don't let your own limiting beliefs shrink you down into thinking that you can't accomplish something. If it's on your heart and it's pushing you to do something big, small, anything, like, you owe it to yourself and to your heart to pursue that with everything you've got, and not to let excuses get in the way of getting it done.
Absolutely. I love it. Dream bigger. All right. Well, that's it for today's episode, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. And Absolutely. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe and tap that little bell so you're the first to learn every time we drop a new episode just like this one. And we will see you on the next one.